What's up, everybody? This is Football at the Bar, and we're your host. I'm TA.
And this is G Monday.
And we are fired up, and we are being brought to you by ATB Media Network. But like I said, we are absolutely fired up because we have gotten through an entire season and have made it to the Super Bowl.
Yes, sir. Yes,
we
sir.
are literally just a few days away from seeing the two very best teams from the AFC and the NFC to collide in the Super Bowl. And I can tell you this, I had no clue this was what the Super Bowl was going to be, but I couldn't ask for a better Super Bowl. But before we go there, G Money, what are you drinking on?
I'm sticking with my Shildag. I
Shildag!
can't even believe it. Shildag has made it through. How do you know? See, I started off with J&B, and then Shildag just converted me.
Hey, we had to grow and mature and sit over here and bring him and evolve him to the Shildag Nation. If y'all don't know about Shildag and y'all drinking that whiskey blend.
Yes, anybody in the Scotch family, go ahead. You need to go ahead and invest in a little bit of Shildag because they're coming on up.
And I'm drinking that French chandelier.
Look,
I'm drinking that French chandelier.
Look, and he loves to say it like that.
Because it's with
it makes him feel like he's French.
Yes, a little bit of French in me. But I'm drinking that, and so obviously my cognac, it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yes,
so
indeedy.
We got to get this
popping, bro.
And before we get started, even though we're getting to the end of the season, that doesn't mean that you cannot sit over here and download, subscribe, and lock down with us each and every single week. So, ladies and gentlemen, subscribe, like, and download. And we're not leaving you. Just because this weekend is coming up and it's a Super Bowl, we're going to continue this all through the off season. You're going to get that off season flair. You're going to sit over and talk about all the coaching hires, all what we expect the teams to do, the trades that are going to come during the draft. We're going to be talking about the build up to the draft. We're going to talk about these teams after the draft and what we expect them to be. We're going to be talking about preseason. We're going to be talking about everything leading up until next season. So we're not going anywhere. But a quick service announcement. We will be here for spring football in the UFL. We haven't told y'all about that, but we are going to be bringing UFL content with its own channel, with its own podcast. We won't be doing it on Football at the Bar. We will have UFL at the Bar because we know each and every single one of you absolutely love the game of football and are going to keep this bad boy going. So we're just going to move on over as well and participate in the UFL. So can't wait to see you guys in a few weeks for the UFL launch to talk about that new XFL USFL merger for the UFL and talking about this unbelievable spring football, which is going to be a springboard into the NFL. So super excited about that.
Yes. Can you smell what the Rock is cooking? How about that? So
obviously a WWE
that's my dude right there. I can't front.
So, you know, as we sit over and jump into this Super Bowl week, and again, we have less than, what do we got? Less than a week until the Super Bowl.
Right.
Today we're filming on Monday, and the Super Bowl is going to be next Sunday, and I'm super excited. I will be out there at the Super Bowl. I'm going to try to get some footage for all of you to sit over here and post from the Super Bowl. G Money is super, super, super busy handling his business. He is an astute professional outside of this realm, but I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be taking my son out there, and we're going to be knee deep in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to bring as much action as I can and take as much video while I'm out there. But as we lead into the Super Bowl, what I want to talk to you about is what we're going to do is we're going to break down these two teams.
Sure.
And we're going to give our predictions at the end of this breakdown.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the coaching hires and talk about what that looks like for the teams with the new coaches for next year.
Okay.
But when you look at the two teams, for me, I look at a Super Bowl that has been played before just a few years ago. And the teams almost in its very crux are very similar, but they're also very different. Because you see San Francisco.
they're bringing a different set of characters.
Not a big different set.
Not a big set.
A few different players.
I agree. It's not a big different
Mm-hmm.
set. But there are some differences, and we'll see how that plays out.
Well, you have McCaffrey that's been added to San Francisco. We have a brand new quarterback from when the last time they played in the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy versus Jimmy G.
I mean,
Jimmy
you
G.
know.
You said,
Well, I think that the 49ers in that particular season, it was more about Debo, and it was more about that defense, and it was, and then they had a host of running backs. They had a stallion of running backs, and they just didn't execute to their optimum level in that game. And Patrick Mahomes, it was Patrick Mahomes, and he exploited them. But so this is a different.
This is different. So what we look at is we have a new running back, we have a new quarterback, we have a new defense. Everything else on the San Francisco side is relatively the same. Now, on the flip side, with the Chiefs, we don't have a big piece, which is Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
We have a much more improved defense.
Yes. I think that they have a seasoned, let's say, battle-tested defense now.
Mm-hmm. And one of my biggest concerns is they don't have the same OC. They don't have the same offensive coordinator. They have my man who used to be the head coach of the Bears, who wasn't very good with the Bears.
Yeah, so this is like does Andy Reid in all of his genius, because it is genius that Andy Reid puts forth. It is the seasoning that he displays to his offensive coordinator. Is that going to supersede the fact that he doesn't have Bieniemy by his side?
Correct. So there are a lot of different variables that go into this game. So when we look at it and we see a rematch from just a few years ago, can we expect a different game this time than what we saw before?
I would say yes, because I think from the 49ers fandom perspective, this is a revenge game. Period. Point blank.
Revenge from getting the ass smacked.
Now. They did not get smacked. What I would say is they lost. And you know what? Losses are painful and losses are lasting. And they will never be able to take that back. So the revenge now is just, are you going to be focused, singularly focused as a complete and total team to say that we will not allow that to happen to us again? And I would say, yeah.
So are you saying that they weren't completely focused last game?
No, I just think that the circumstance and how that game played out when they had Tyreek Hill and so on and so forth is that whether or not you want to pull out weaknesses for the 49ers, they didn't execute the plays down the stretch, and Patrick Mahomes did. It is really that simple. And the bottom line is they lost, and losing hurts. And so there are a number of players on that team that remember that loss, and they will want to rectify that. Period.
Well, there are a few things I want to talk about. You know, obviously we're going to talk about the coach v. coach. So we're going to talk about Reid versus Shanahan. You know, we want to talk about the quarterbacks. We're talking about Purdy versus Mahomes. We want to talk about the offenses and the offensive talent that they have with San Francisco versus Kansas City. And then we also want to talk about the defenses. So which one of those four topics do you think you want to jump into? Let's play a little bit of NFL Super Bowl Jeopardy.
Okay.
So which one of those topics do you think you want to talk about?
All right, well, let's start with the defenses then.
Let's start with the defenses. Okay. So please go ahead and jump in there and tell me about the defenses and why you feel most confident that the San Francisco defense is going to be able to do something different this time around that they weren't able to do before.
I just think that the defense for the San Francisco 49ers has not lived up to their billing the entire playoff. They have played in spurts to, let's say, a Pro Bowl level in instances with a couple of a cadence of players, but they almost lost to Detroit.
Almost
They
lost
got
to Green
lucky.
Bay.
They almost lost to Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they have kind of escaped,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. You have not seen their defense play lights out for 4 quarters.
Okay.
It has not occurred. So this is their final. It's not even a dress rehearsal. This is like their final moment to say we are a difference maker on this team, and I think that they should be singularly focused and really into the film room heavy on the Kansas City Chiefs, because the Kansas City Chiefs are not as formidable as the last time that they saw them. So they should be locked in. Warner, Bosa, all of those guys, they should be really locked in.
So
and they need to bring the deal home.
Did you hear Bosa already coming up with the excuses? This is one of the things that gave me trepidation with San Francisco, is that they might not be quite ready to win, because winners don't go into a situation, go into a battle making excuses. And we saw Bosa, we saw the owner going into this game, going into media week, making excuses about the Kansas City offensive line holding. And using as an excuse on, if it wasn't for the Kansas City Chiefs holding, we would have won last game. And when they're holding on to
like past failures,
and making excuses for those past failures, and they're making excuses for future failures by talking about players that didn't even play in the last game, talking about them holding in this game. That's a sense of a weakness to me. When I look at this team, and you said you want to talk about defenses, my question for you is it fair to say that this defense this year isn't as formidable as the defense when they played before?
Yeah. Okay. So on paper and statistically, the 49ers defense, with you could add the addition of Sherman. You could talk about a lot of the things that they had in the secondary that were, let's say, not even necessarily a downgrade, but they don't have the same semblance of talent on defense that they did when they played that Super Bowl game. But this was a lot of those guys are playing the Super Bowl game for the first time. So pressure bust pipes. They didn't rise to the occasion. They lost. They have to own that. So
a worse team is going to rise to the occasion.
Well, but there's such a cluster of players that were played in the game. Kinlaw. I mean, you could go down the line. Exception of their additions, I think that they will have a different focus. I just think that they know that they didn't play their best game when the best game was required in the Super Bowl because they lost. So they're going to try to make sure this time that they leave no doubt.
Now, when we look at the playoffs leading into the Super Bowl, we had 2 different teams. We have one team that played Green Bay with a quarterback in his first year with the team, coming this close to beating him. We had another team that didn't make the playoffs last year, has a quarterback that was cast from his previous team. They came this close to beating him this year. And on the flip side, we have a Kansas City team that went through a gauntlet of Miami, Buffalo, and the Ravens. So when we're looking at the 2 teams that kind of prepared you for the Super Bowl, which team do you think had to go through the more challenging gauntlet to get here? Which defense had to have to have a greater fortitude? Because I don't think we would look at Miami being on the same level as the Green Bay Packers. I don't think we would look at Buffalo Bills as the same level as the Detroit Lions. And
look at you trying to ask the question and answer it for me.
Well, neither of those teams, I don't think we would sit over here and say they're on the same level of the Ravens. But we've seen this team lock down all 3 of those teams, whereas San Francisco, from a defensive standpoint, and their defensive coordinator has come out publicly and stated as such, is that they didn't play as well against these lesser teams. So how do you sit over here and really wrap your head around this defense being ready to step up in the Super Bowl?
All right. So I think that to me, there are reasons why all of those teams, Buffalo, Miami, the Ravens, I think that there are all reasons why they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. The one consistent constant about Spagnuolo and his defense is that they said we're not going to beat ourselves. We're going to be basically lockstep with every scheme that you have, and we have a not highly touted but very seasoned and, let's say, above average secondary, and they were ready for the moment. So much of the playoffs is about how do players deal with the emotion of the finality
of the season.
And pressure bust pipes, and the Kansas City Chiefs just had the more mental fortitude to handle it. However, in all of those instances, you could see that there were weaknesses within the team, within the defenses that they went up against. I think that they didn't show weakness. I think that they played at a consistent level. They weren't trying to be world beaters. They weren't trying to say, oh, let me try and do something outside of myself and get a pick six. They just said, we're going to come and we're going to be consistent, and we're going to make sure that you don't beat us. And they did that the whole way through. So when you combine that with a quarterback who is a veteran, and I can't even believe I'm going to say this.
I know you're going to say
a Hall of Fame-esque, not soon to be, but not. I don't want to give him credit.
If he retired today, he'd be the first ballot Hall of Famer. Let's keep it 100.
Lord help me. Yes. A quarterback of that caliber, right? He just basically said, you're not going to get me to waver. So then it's about who blinks first. So if we're having a staring contest, this is about who blinks first. And every quarterback that went up against Patrick Mahomes blinked. He did not.
So
that's it.
So my question is that when we saw lesser teams going against the San Francisco defense that pushed them to the limits, what makes you feel that defense is going to be able to withstand an offense that doesn't blink, playing against one of the very best players?
One simple reason, and one simple reason alone. They have the talent on their team that is all pro at every phase, from the defensive line to the linebackers to the secondary. Now, their secondary is probably the weakest portion of them because their strong safety, who maybe say wreaked havoc most of the year, got injured and he's gone for the season. But their secondary is still solid. So what I would say to you is that this ends up being a question of focus. That the defense, even in these contentious games against Green Bay, against the Lions, at the precipice of we're going to win or lose, they rose to the occasion and they got the turnover or they did the deal. Is the thing that you judge against them is you got down. You allowed a team for a quarter or two to exploit you. Can you, and you're going to have to do this against Patrick Mahomes, can you execute to the highest level for 4 quarters? I think that they have yet to put a playoff game together to where they do it for 4 quarters. They've only done it for like a quarter at a time. And then their offense did just enough, or something happened on the offensive end to help bring it home. And this is going to be the moment to where the 49ers defense is going to finally deliver a game to them. That's my prediction.
There are some pixie dust that's out there that we can sit over and sprinkle on them to finally make them perform.
Pixie dust, he says.
Because here's what the reality is this is not the same formidable front four that they had in the previous, right? We have my man who got traded to the Indianapolis Colts, who's no longer there. They've brought in Greenlaw. They've brought in my man from Washington, but he has shown some effort issues in the playoff games because he hasn't actually adapted into a playoff mindset. He's used to that Washington mindset. Greenlaw's been paying decently, but the reality is Bosa, for what he got paid, is not lived up to his contract. You know,
this season, you're saying?
Well, he got paid last season or at the beginning of this season.
He was the MVP last year.
No, he was not the MVP.
He was the defensive player of the year last year.
I don't know about that, baby. I don't think he was a defensive player, but
well,
we'll have to check on that. But the reality is he's not playing like the defensive player of the year this year after getting paid. And unfortunately, he's slacked off a little bit. He has not looked nearly as dominant he has looked in the previous 4 years. And so now we're asking these players that have not crescendoed themselves up to that level.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, we want to expect that we snap our fingers. And because we're here on the biggest stage in sports in the world, with 1 billion people watching this game, then now all of a sudden they're going to step up. I mean, that's a phenomenal hope and a wish, but the reality is it traditionally doesn't work like that. Wouldn't you agree?
No. And I want to also say thank you, because you have just talked smack about Bosa, and I hope he hears this, or I hope his cousin and third cousin
hear it. I hope his mama hear it.
His mama, his uncle, somebody needs to hear this and hear you basically doubt him, because I don't think that any of these guys need extra fuel, but I think that they know the stakes. They understand it. And I am going to take great pleasure in watching him wreak havoc on your team, and you be like, damn.
What we've only seen from this defensive side of the ball for San Francisco is really one all-pro player, and that's Warren. The linebacker Warner. Everybody else has played at a far lower level than them. And collectively, we haven't seen a plethora of players elevate that maybe they're not at an all-pro, but are at a Pro Bowl level.
Okay.
I mean, this is the lowest level.
I can't say that you're wrong about that. I just think that they're going to do it.
That has anything to do with the defensive coordinator. What I believe it is has everything to do with is that it's very difficult to play at that high of a level for an extended period of time. And so they've played at a high level for over the 4 years, could not cash in the chips, on that high level play. And then so what we're looking at is players that are relative shells of themselves, like a Bosa, who
you said Bosa is a shell of himself.
Well, I mean, have you looked at his statistics in this playoffs?
Thank you again.
He has not done very much to sit over here and
he hasn't garnered confidence in your mind.
Well, he had confidence prior, but like so many players, once they get paid, they take their foot off the gas, and it appears as if he's taking his foot off the gas.
Okay,
and especially when you're making excuses and interviews and
saying
press conferences,
saying that they're holding
instead of sitting over and saying, "I don't care what."
I knew you were going there.
I could sit over and say, "Guess what? They were holding last time, and guess what? You can hold me all you want. You can grab me around your neck. Ain't nothing gonna keep me from it." There's levels to this. There's a mindset difference, and he didn't say that. He came out and just simply said he complaining, talking about they were holding, and that enables me to understand and to realize that this man's not ready to do something special. He's not ready to win a Super Bowl, because Super Bowl winners don't do that.
Okay. Well, get ready to get boo-bopped.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell you, because the 49ers, and this is coming from the guy who's a Raider fan. I don't even like the 49ers like that. But
But you hate the Chiefs more. So this is still
I know, but
convoluted
I can
in
look
terms
at
of
it.
your feelings.
There might be a little bit of truth in there,
Mm-hmm.
but what I will say is that my logical brain will look at the 49ers and say, you know what? They have the skill set to dominate this game.
Yeah.
They do. And if you look at if you're going to just like say dissect the course of the season, they have the ability, certainly with their two phases, their linebackers and their defensive line, to make this the worst day that the Kansas City Chiefs ever had. They have the ability to do that.
My challenge with that sentiment is they weren't able to do that to Lamar Jackson on Christmas Day in their own home field when everybody was watching. So the one thing I can guarantee you is that they weren't able to do that then. I can guarantee you can write it down and take a picture.
Oh, he said write it down and take a picture.
They are not going to be able to do that now.
Oh, my God.
And again, the one thing that I don't want to hear from this team is at the end of this Super Bowl loss that they're trying to blame the defensive coordinator for all their woes on why they lost to the greatest player to ever touch a football.
Ooh.
So that's my greatest concern. But, you know, let's move on. I can appreciate.
We can move on.
I can appreciate how excited you are about the 49ers.
Oh,
I definitely understand, especially when they got my man from Washington. And they haven't. I don't think they haven't. Well, they've only lost one game since he's been there, if I'm not mistaken. And so I can understand how you could feel so great about them. But when I look at it from a broad perspective, without anything, without any objectives and without anything clouding, is I just look at what they did against the Green Bay Packers playing with a first year quarterback. When I look at with them when they were down 17 points, and obviously if anybody,
so a lot of people blame Dan Campbell for not kicking the field goal.
If anybody else was coaching the game, if Coach Reed was coaching that game, he would have kicked the field goal, and guess what? The 49ers wouldn't be in the Super Bowl. It would be the Detroit Lions. So when I look at this in totality, I say that this is not a team from a defensive standpoint that can hold Mahomes back from actually winning. Are they talented? Yes. Unequivocally, they're talented. But do they have
you want to say the fortitude, right?
It's not just the fortitude. Like, have they run their course? This team was great at some point in time, but teams run their course. You understand? And then you have to break it down and then re-scrub it out and rebuild it again. And this is a team that appears to be needing to, or from a defensive perspective, needs to be rebuilt back up because they just don't have the hunger, because you've been good, above average.
You made it to the final dance, right?
Correct. For so long that hunger is not there. And what a defense needs is that hunger, that fight, that grit, that I think that they've become spoiled because all of them have come up to getting paid. And so, you know, we'll see. I understand how you feel, and I'm excited for you. But I'm excited for Pat Mahomes having to go against this defense that doesn't have that grit. It's going to give him an opportunity to showcase and do what he does without having to score 27 points plus like he did last time in their previous Super Bowl, because his defense is just that formidable. And so let's not sit over and go past the defenses without talking about the Kansas City defense, who has been absolutely lights out.
They've been lights out.
Spagnolia is absolutely phenomenal. I think at some point in time we have to give him an opportunity to get another head coaching job. I know his first stint was challenging, but what he's done with this defense and how we've seen the maturation of this defense from being a very challenging defense when they already beat the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl before, to now getting to this defense that out-defensed a defensive team in the Ravens. I think when you look at this, they played before and they couldn't beat the Chiefs when their defense was abysmal. Now you have a Chiefs defense, which is absolutely phenomenal. How do we expect this offense with two new additions, one being McCaffrey, which is phenomenal, and the other being Brock Purdy, which is still suspect, and expect that not to equal itself out to be exactly what they were before, to beat. And they couldn't beat a suspect defense, but now they're going to beat a phenomenal defense.
Well,
the math ain't mathing for me in that situation.
You know what? And I can't even believe you tricked me into giving a defense.
He did.
And I apologize to the Raider Nation. Please, my condolences. I'm only doing this to prove a point. You said it was an abysmal defense, but no, that Super Bowl winning team, actually, I think that was their coming out party. So I think the one constant is Spagnuolo, and they had guys that were younger and that
they were babies,
and they were not proven.
Mm-hmm.
But what Spagnuolo did is that he had them all believing in a scheme, and so maybe statistically they were not one of the more fearsome, dominating defenses, and this was their moment to prove that they were worthy because he had a lot of young guys on there. But those same young guys are on the team now, and now we're talking about them in a different light. But those were the same guys. They just grew up through the playoffs, and they grew up and they rose and shone in the most high leverage moment. And that defense for that Super Bowl against the 49ers was good. Names like Snead, names like Chris Jones.
They were good. They're great now.
Yeah, and they're great now. So they weren't bad back then. It's the same.
The defense as a total was. And this defense is, there are pros and cons.
You're talking about the Chiefs, right?
We're talking about both. And there are pros and cons for each. But really, what I want to jump into is the offense. Because the offense is relatively the same from the San Francisco team that got their behinds whooped in the previous Super Bowl. But they did add a tremendous chess piece. And that's McCaffrey. And McCaffrey has brought a completely different dynamic to this team.
Yes.
And that I absolutely love. But the one thing that we have learned in the last 5-6 years in the NFL is that a running back is dispensable, right? It's amazing that McCaffrey was the last running back to actually get the monster contract. The monster contract. And other than him, no running back deserves to get paid. Only Christian McCaffrey deserves to get paid. And so we're about to see if that $16 million a year, if he's worth that. If that he is such a game changer that no other running back deserves to get paid other than him. Because it's my thought process and my belief is that unbelievable defense is going to shut that running back who, just like any other running back, can't completely change the fortunes of a team in this day and age in the Super Bowl. We're going to have an opportunity to see that. Now, I'm a firm believer. I've won some money with Christian McCaffrey. I think he's a very
I know you
back.
Be picking him on your DFS now.
My challenge is a thought process that only his miraculous self deserves to get paid, and everybody else ain't worth shit. I have a problem with that.
Okay,
but that's here nor there. But he's going to have an opportunity to sit over here and prove that sentiment is accurate. But the reality is everybody else in that team is exactly the same. And the two running backs that they had prior, Mostert and I can't even think of the
I don't know. They had a couple guys. They had, and even Mitchell, who's still on the team.
Mitchell was Mostert and Mitchell. Those two running backs, I think, when you put them all together, equal to a poor man's McCaffrey. Not in a full McCaffrey, but a poor man's McCaffrey. And that wasn't enough to beat the Super Bowl. So, let me tell you something. That boy better put a cape on. Because if he doesn't, it's hard for me to believe that this offense is so much different, and the offensive play caller has grown so much in the last couple of years that they're now going to have an offense that is predicated and and feasibly can beat a much better defense than what they faced before.
Okay, so I think most people want to say that this is a Patrick Mahomes versus Purdy Super Bowl.
Well, why isn't it? Well, quarterbacks are always a dominant figure, but I know you have galaxy brain this, and that all of a sudden that's not the case.
Did you get it all out of your system? Okay. Do you want to say it 5 more times?
Touche.
Okay. All I'm simply saying is that is what most people are going to say. This, in my estimation, is about Christian McCaffrey versus Patrick Mahomes. Which GM is correct? Because you are correct. The best quarterback in this Super Bowl is Patrick Mahomes by a country mile.
Big old country
mile. Mm-hmm. He has what could be argued is who has the better tight end. I would say the better receiving tight end is Kelsey. Mm-hmm. The better all-around tight end.
Let's call him a blocker because he ain't that good of a catcher. Let's call him a blocker.
Well, he
can block.
No, the thing about Kittle is he's a Pro Bowl level catcher, but what makes him special is the fact that he blocks like the second string tight end, meaning the guy that they leave in to block.
How many points that scores?
Well, we will see.
Mm-hmm.
We will see. But the point to me is this is not about Brock Purdy versus Patrick Mahomes. If the 49ers are truly in the business of winning this game, mm-hmm. they need to understand that this is going to be about Patrick Mahomes doing what Patrick Mahomes does and all of his magic against your defense mm-hmm. versus you deciding to allow Christian McCaffrey to be on complete display like this is a Madden video game.
So let me tell you, this is like pseudoscience. It's like where do they put the needles in people? It's not real medicine. It's kind of like that fake shit, where what do they call that?
You talking about acupuncture?
Acupuncture. It's what we're talking about is a pseudoscience because there's never been a time in the NFL in the Super Bowl era where they're talking about it's not mono against quarterback versus quarterback. All of a sudden, when there is a overtly weaker quarterback going against an overtly greater quarterback, when we want to sit over here and shun that comparison and say there's a running back that the entire league has determined that running backs don't matter and they shouldn't get paid other than Christian McCaffrey, that it's a running back against the greatest quarterback who ever did it. And the one thing that I can promise you is if you think that's the posing question, a running back, it shouldn't matter because you can get him in the 5th and 6th round, 7th round, just like they tell you. You can get a running back anytime going against the very greatest person to ever touch a football. Mm. The one thing that I can promise you is that when you put those 2 and 2 together, there's no way this running back that doesn't mean anything compared to all of the analytics, compared to all the other individuals that want to comment on football, is going to sit over here and beat the greatest individual to ever touch a football.
Okay, so Lord knows that I know that you think Patrick Mahomes is the next.
No, it's not about what I think. It's not about what I think. It's about.
Yes, it is.
It's about what overall statistics have shown. So don't talk about what I think.
Okay, well, you and the statistics believe that Patrick Mahomes is Jesus of Nazareth. Okay, the second coming. He's walking on water. He's giving fishes and wine to everybody. Okay. I understand that. I get it. I understand
that. But you believe Christian McCaffrey is that?
No, what I will tell you is that when it comes down to the trenches of the game and the game plan itself, that this is one of the things that Lamar Jackson made a mistake on. And you know what? And I hope the 49ers learn. The thing is, if you try to play Patrick Mahomes' game, which is we're going to try to beat you pass for pass, Patrick Mahomes is going to beat you.
Well, hold on. Before you go any further, why do you think that happened? It didn't happen by coinkydink. Why do you think that happened?
I think that they're
what happens in the first two possessions for Kansas City Chiefs every first quarter in the playoffs?
I think specifically Patrick Mahomes went up against a defense that decided that they were going to play zone in the first quarter.
That's what took place.
If you want me to give you the full answer, shall I? So they decided to have single coverage on Kelsey, who is the number one target for Patrick Mahomes. And that relationship between Kelsey, Hall of Famer, and Patrick Mahomes, Hall of Famer, when you don't have enough pressure to get home early on, and they're not scared early on, they can literally eat you alive. And guess what? Pacheco on their running back he's basically like a Tasmanian devil. He runs a 4-5 flat, and he is violent with his running cadence. Can I
answer the question that you refuse to answer?
What do you want me to say?
What happened is...
Tell me the script.
They scored.
Yes.
And what happened? No. What happened? I asked you a simple question. And what happened is...
But I'm telling you the why, how, and why.
Well, but why? When at the end of the day, how would happen? How the sausage is made doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how good is the sausage. We don't got to talk about how it happened. All we have to talk about is what happened.
Okay.
And what happened is the scores took place. So when those scores on those first drives. So when scores take place, are you really believing that this is an offense that's built to come from behind?
Okay, so what we're really arguing here, to your point...
We're not arguing anything.
Well, I would say...
We are conversating. We're having a conversation.
Oh, isn't that so civilized, Grey Poupon? What I would tell you is that the disagreement or the challenge that of both of our prognostications, since I'm going to go ahead and get all the way fancy with it, is I would just say is that you're right. The Kansas City Chiefs found a way to systematically go down the field and score early. And
what did that do to the other team?
It put pressure on the other team.
It put them behind.
Yeah,
is San Francisco a team that performs best coming from behind?
Well, the one thing that I can say is they have played, let's say, 2 playoff games where they've had to come back from behind to win. Now, will they be able to do that against Patrick Mahomes? Is
not against Patrick Mahomes. This is what my point is. It's not against Patrick Mahomes being able to come back from behind. It's against his defense.
Okay.
That's one of the very best defenses in the NFL.
Will they be able to do that against the Chiefs?
And so we saw Lamar not being able to do that. And we saw every single other team that they played not being able to do that.
Always say
we're saying when you talk from a defensive perspective.
Yes, I will always say this, that the main reason, and I actually feel bad for Lamar, because I think that Lamar is going to have to live with this for an entire summer and off season.
It's all right.
But
he got paid $50 million this year. He's all right.
And he's going to win
an
MVP.
Give me $50 million. I can live with it too.
Okay. But here's the reality, is that your team was ill-prepared and had a scheme that could not win when you're down. And you, as a collective unit, could not handle and did not have the right scheme to handle being down. That's what happened to the Ravens.
So now, when that happens in San Francisco, what will be?
Well, the
how do we deal with
assumption
that?
that you make is that this will happen to the 49ers.
Correct.
And where you and I are in disagreement is I don't think that this is going to happen to the 49ers.
Is it fair to say we will know that by the end of the first quarter?
It's possible.
So
it is possible.
So if they're down 10 at the end of the first quarter,
it is possible.
What will your booty hole be like? Will it be doing this?
First of all, my sphincter will always be in normal mode because first of all,
popping like this.
No, first of all, I know that gives you such glee. It gives you such glee. Look at you. Look at you, smiling like the Joker. Only thing that I can tell you is hell to the no. No, it won't. Because I just believe with my whole spirit that the whole spirit. Yes, my whole spirit. I had to go in.
You had to do a reindeer.
Yeah, I had to do the reindeer kill on that bad boy. The 49ers are going to be ready for this game. I just genuinely, I feel that, and they're going to be ready for it. And I actually think that you're going to be very disappointed because they're going to be ready and they're going to respond in a positive way. The thing that most, let's say, prognosticators, including yourself, are really not paying attention to is that there is a bitterness within the Bay Area about them losing to Patrick Mahomes the last time. And this is the moment to where
like
they can right the wrong.
Buffalo, right? Buffalo, New York has that same resentment, and what happens?
Yeah, but this is not, but they're not, guess what? Guess what they are? They are the Buffalo Bills.
And if
they are not the 49ers.
And if the 49ers were playing the Buffalo Bills, we would probably be aligned on what the outcome would be.
Okay. Well, this is a clash of the Titans, and both of us can have a staring contest about this till the cows come home. But what I would tell you is that I believe I'm going to be right.
Well, here's my thought process on the offense. Let's dial it back in. My thought process on the offense is that offense is relatively the same. You have the same play caller. You have the same instruments of war. The only difference is that we have Christian McCaffrey. Now, my thought process is you can't sit over here and expect a running back to be the differentiator. It has to be the quarterback. It has to be the coach of the scheme.
I get that. I get that.
We have to add a new tool. Now, here's what the reality is that with the Kansas City Chiefs, all they've done since they played before is they've discarded Tyreek Hill. Now that's a huge discard.
Of course,
right?
that's a huge loss.
But the reality is we saw them playing an actual phenomenal defense and still beating that team without Tyreek Hill last year. So there's no doubt that this team can do it without Tyreek Hill. So that's a saving grace that Tyreek Hill becomes null and void. Now, what we've done is we've sit over here and gotten rid of what's old boy that came from Pittsburgh that's now in New England. He had some Mickey Mouse rinky-dink name. And we've supplanted him with the rookie who's doing his deal.
Yeah, so, okay, here's the deal. I'll just simply say about the Kansas City Chiefs offense, right? It is Ray Rice who has supplanted Tony on that, who played well in the Super Bowl.
And he's coming back.
Tony's going to be available, obviously. But it is Rice. It is.
But he filled in for that player.
Valdez, correct. And there is Valdez Scantling.
Who's a hook.
And then there is Kelsey. And then there is Pacheco. And then there is.
What else do you need?
There's Watson.
If you have that core of Mahomes, Rice, Kelsey,
Yes.
That's all we need is those three.
But
and
again,
then you add the running back.
I know, but again, what you're really telling me is that collection of wide receivers and or tight ends are going to be able to play at a higher level than arguably one of the most formidable defenses that the league has seen in the past 3 years.
Okay, so let's look at this. Let's compare. We had Amon-Ra and we had Laporta that took them to the limit, almost beat them.
But guess what? Those guys are not Laporta. Those guys are not
Travis
St.
Kelce's
Brown.
not better than Laporta?
No. Of course, Kelsey is.
Okay, so Rice isn't playing better?
No, not than St. Brown.
Okay.
No.
Are they similar? Are they in the same realm?
No.
Okay.
They are not in the same realm.
Let me ask you a question. Is the quarterback for Detroit or Mahomes in the same?
No.
When you have Patrick Mahomes, when you have Rice that he has a connection with, and then you have Kelsey, when you talk about Goff, Laporta, and St. Brown.
I think this. I will answer. I will backhand your answer. I'm gonna backhand your answer.
Just answer the question.
If you're talking about the offenses that
we're talking about offenses
that are going to be in the Super Bowl.
We're talking about offenses.
The Detroit Lions offense was better than the Kansas City Chiefs offense. The San Francisco 49ers beat a more formidable offense.
Do you think that the Kansas City Chiefs being in the same situation as Detroit, being up 17 points, will make the same mistakes?
No, I do not think that they will make the same mistakes.
Fair to say it ain't going to happen twice. You're not going to get that lucky tomfoolery magical bullshit twice. It's not going to happen.
So only thing that I can say to you is that you, with your Jesus of Nazareth love for Patrick Mahomes,
you can make fun of greatness all you want.
You are going to find a way to make sure that Patrick Mahomes is going to win. I just don't believe
What's the greatness on San Francisco?
Very simple.
What?
They have superior in this Super Bowl.
What's the greatness? What's great?
I need you to be silent so I can fully answer the question. Debo, Ayuk.
Debo is great.
Yes.
Great. Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Okay. Hey. I can't say the word that I want to say.
You know what the funny thing is?
It starts with a C and ends with a K. And Debo, smoke it.
And I hope Debo is watching this. Lord knows. I'm going to speak the language of the angels. I hope that he pays attention because guess what? I am going to say it and I'm going to quadruple down. Debo is a great player.
So how many yards is Debo going to have?
A great
How many yards is Debo going to have for the game?
It won't matter. He's going to win.
How many yards?
I'll say that he has at least 100 yards total. I was going to say receiving, but
Debo's going to have 100 yards. How many yards is Ayuk going to have?
Ayuk probably 70.
So that's 170.
With a touchdown.
How many yards is McCaffrey going to have?
125 with at least 2 touchdowns.
So now we're looking at 395.
Yep.
395.
And you're welcome.
And how many yards is Kittle going to have?
Kittle is going to have a good 60 with a touchdown.
So you're talking about almost 500 yards of offense on this defense.
Yes.
Hey. There's not even 49er fans that will agree that this offense is going to have almost 500 yards on them. So I just wanted you to sit over here and acknowledge, I believe the San Francisco 49ers are going to have almost 500 yards of offense collectively against this defense.
Yes, I do. And you know what? And I'm either going to be all the way wrong or all the way right. and I am okay with it. I'm at peace.
I know, because you have grown comfortable with taking L's. You know why you've been taking L's? It's not because you're not astute. You don't sit over here and understand the game. Do you know why you take L's to me?
Okay.
Because I bait you into saying obnoxious shit like that.
Okay.
Almost 500 yards against this offense, against this defense.
Yes.
When you saw the Ravens, couldn't even come close to that.
But again, I always go harken back to the same. Harken back. Yes, I harken back to the same point. The
McCaffrey is my savior.
No, yet again, the Ravens had a poor game plan, and they literally played into the Kansas City Chiefs' strength. So what I believe is that I believe that this will be a game to where the 49ers run the ball aggressively, and then what will happen from that running is that they will be able to play action, and that play action will exploit and release all of the guys that I've just talked about. And that is going to be so grand when I can make you just bow down.
All I have to say is this. You've committed to almost 500
I'm all in hands and feet.
Almost 500 yards of offense from the San Francisco 49ers.
I said it.
And the San Francisco 49ers beat the Chiefs.
Yes, and they're going to not beat them close. They're going to beat them like a drum. So I said 31. I said 31-21, didn't I? That's a whole 10 points. That means that
with your chest.
And that means that it's probably going to be 31-14, and then they get a garbage touchdown at the end where we don't even
So it's going to be ass whooping.
Ass whooping.
Okay. Now, understand.
Ass whooping.
Understand.
Some of my friends will be real proud of me. They're going to be like,
projected to the world.
Tell it, G Money.
And you have to stand on this.
Yes.
You have to stand on business.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So just know I'm going to be relentless.
I know. Listen,
it's going to be
been around you a long time.
Vicious. And you've got many calls from me.
First of all, we might not do this show anymore. If I lose, this will be the last season because I refuse.
It's going to be.
I might have to kick you in. Okay,
it's going to be vicious.
I know.
I just got to tell you.
I know.
So I appreciate your conviction, and I respect and I love.
Okay.
So obviously, for all of you, you know where this man stands.
Mm-hmm.
He stands on pure tomfoolery, and this is and he is being bold in his predictions. This is what you call a hot take. Money is giving hot takes.
The money, believe it.
But what I perceive is because we're giving our Super Bowl predictions and. Your shit is so outlandish that, we don't even need to pinpoint it.
Oh,
but I want to pinpoint mine.
So great.
We're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs winning.
Okay.
And we're looking at somewhere in the realm of around 24-17. It's going to be a defensive battle. I think the San Francisco defense is going to step up, that the defensive coordinator has requested and asked for them to step up, and they're going to do the very best that they can. But when you have Mahomes being one of the best who ever did it, probably the very best who ever touched a football, that he throws 2 unbelievable touchdowns, one to Rice, one to
Nazareth.
One to
you don't even know
I know because you have been so discombobulated by your thought process to Kelsey. So he's gonna throw one to Rice, one to Kelsey, and then
why don't you throw Pacheco in there or Jerk McKinnon?
Pacheco's gonna run in one, and then my man, the punter is gonna, the kicker is gonna sit over here and kick a field goal. So that's how we get
to ice it.
To ice it out 24-17. Write it down, take a picture. Our man Purdy's going to throw at least minimum 2 INTs.
Minimum?
minimum. That booty hole's gonna get tight.
Okay.
His sucker's gonna get tight.
Oh my goodness.
He's gonna throw at least 2 interceptions, and he's gonna trick off the game.
Dream an impossible dream.
And CMC is going to sit over here and get cracked and gonna be out the game for half the game.
You think he's gonna get boo-bop too?
That he's gonna get boo-bop. Because Chris Jones sits over here and likes to put a licking on.
Well, why don't you say Gay? Gay is the one that is
Chris Jones is gonna put the licking on. Chris Jones is gonna put the licking on.
Oh, okay.
I'm just telling you.
Okay.
And he won't even finish the game. And Mahomes is gonna get another Super Bowl MVP.
Well, challenge.
I can't wait.
Give me a ching on that one, buddy.
So
challenge.
As we wrap up this very unique and special show,
this special season,
a phenomenal season, when we're dealing with a lot of extraordinary prophecies to the deal. I want to talk a little bit about the coaching hires.
Oh, okay. We're gonna pivot to the
just
to the new guys.
Gonna get up out of here. We got some new guys, and the reason why I like to talk about that, just like it's gonna be such a big deal when we get to the draft, is when we talk about that new blood that comes into the league, and I think that's so important. We've seen that in this past year when we look at D'Amico. When we look at some of these new coaches, when we look at Steichen, and we look at these new coaches that have brought that new vigor and that new blood to the NFL. And so we have I believe 6 or 8 coaching vacancies.
Oh, you talking about head coaches and offensive coordinators.
And offensive coordinators. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But we didn't have a chance to acknowledge the newest coaches that have been hired. Dan Quinn has been hired with the Commanders, and
my man Pierce,
Antonio Pierce has been hired. We have the coach for the Titans who came from the Cincinnati Bengals. That's interesting. We have Canellis, I believe his name is, coming from Tampa Bay, going over to where did he go over? I forgot where he went. Oh, he went to the Panthers. We have McDonald going over to the Seahawks.
Yeah, so you talking about all of that basically the wheel of where all these guys land, and they've landed in a random spot.
I wouldn't say random spot. I think a lot of people, I think most people are in the place they need to be. I do think some people got left out of it. I mean, we're talking about Belichick getting left out. We can talk about our man from Tennessee, Rabel, being left out. When we talk about Bieniemy being left out. So there are a lot of people that have been left out. I just want to acknowledge them. I just want to prep, because this is going to be some talking points for us moving forward as we get into the off.
I feel like that's a whole nother show.
Oh, it is unequivocally a whole nother show. So I wouldn't think to add that to the diatribe.
I think that's but we need to touch on it.
When you've made so many outrageous accusations and aspirations and
how about this?
Can we can't wait to get in depth.
Can we say this? Let's table the coaching carousel for the next show.
The next show, I'm gonna be an ass, and I'm gonna sit over here.
I can give you a whole 30 minutes where I'm gonna just destroy you on the fact that I won. Okay. And then we can spend the next 30 minutes talking about the changes.
I have an hour of me being an ass, but if you only have 30 minutes, then we can sit over here and talk a little bit about the coaching next week. I don't believe so, because I have a whole hour's worth of assness in me.
Oh my goodness!
Over here and talk shit.
I can't wait.
I'm excited.
Tell you? I'm excited. I'm
excited.
Okay.
And guess what? We are going to sit over here and do this show. And I'll be back from Vegas next Monday.
Okay.
And guess what? And I'm going to have pictures. I'm going to have a whole lot of exhaustion, but a whole lot of shit talk.
Yes, sir. Well, guess what? One of us is going to be right, and one of us is going to be wrong as hell. And that is going to be
I've known you for 40 years.
Guess what?
I'm
gonna rule the day. You won't even want to film.
Hey, if I win, if it's that bad, I'm gonna be doing the show just like this.
Yes, you will.
So we're gonna see. So you have action, and you've chosen.
I got action.
You've chosen a side, and guess what? All I can do is respect that. All I can do is appreciate that, because it gives us an opportunity for phenomenal content, phenomenal discussion.
I can't wait. Man, let's say 49ers. Debo, you better not fuck up.
Hey, Debo's going to fuck up for you. We've been through this before.
Where's my...
I love it.
Oh, my God. I can't stand this dude.
I can't wait. We will see you next week. Like, and download, subscribe, because next week is going to be cracking, because we're going to have a Super Bowl champion, and we're going to be preparing for spring football in the UFL, ladies and gentlemen, and for all the NFL has for you in its off season. Can't wait. We talk to you soon. G-Money.
Should I even bump you? All right.
Appreciate y'all. See you next week.
All right.